Hey guys, how's it going? It's been a long time. So, I haven't had a lot to talk about, and I've been really busy at work. So it's been a while since I've been on here and made a video. But today I like to talk about a couple games I have been in. I've been in some good ones, but I want to talk about some bad ones. Um, there has been a game that I've been on and off playing in for quite a while, and the game was so ridiculously over the top that it's so the game starts off like this. It's a sandbox open world game, and there was some things about it and everything that I didn't automatically pick up on it at first, but kind of like slowly lingered on me over a while. Um, but one of the things was is the the GM did put a lot of work into this game to try and create this really elusive backstory. And but the but the weird thing is that here's the backstory of the game. Here's the game you play in. So the backstory is just kind of there, and though the GM's real big about postulating that you have like you're so directly involved in it, but you're not. Um, what really happens is that you come in here and you play the game. It's supposed to be this big role playing game, and you know big thick story. You're saving the world and all this other stuff. But actually, the way it works is you have a world map, and he has monsters that he has designated for those areas. And you go to those areas and you fight those monsters. And the best game I can describe it is like if you ever played Dragon Warrior, where you go out and you fight the little slime, and you kill all the slimes in those areas, and then you can move to the next area where you fight the drakes, and you finally kill all those drakes, and you can get strong enough that you can move on to the next area, which is like another colored slime or some shit like that. But I don't know. It's been so long since I played the game, and it was on the I want to say Nintendo, if you guys remember that. But he had this plan in mind where it's this big role playing game, but really what ended up happening is this world where you just walk on a world map, and it's this horribly done world map. And then he puts the monsters out there on the world map, and you fight the monsters on the world map. Um, and the game gets really tactical and technical in the sense that he makes sure that every single rule is being played out. Like one of the things is I'll admit I'm not the most savviest GMs when it comes to the rulings. I mean, there's a lot of times I don't know the rule, don't remember the rule, or something like that. But as a rule of thumb, I never try and look up a rule during combat. And the reason why I don't ever try and look up a rule during combat is because, fuck me, it takes forever to find that goddamn ruling. So instead, what I try and do is, you know, I'll try and do what I plan on doing. One of the players will interject that they know the ruling, and based on whether they can sell it really well to me, I'll just accept what they say on blind faith, or I'll put it to a vote. What do you guys think? With the goal to go back and look up the rule. But I don't bog down my game with rulings. Now, since I have this type of mentality, we could go through a 3-hour game session and accomplish a lot. And so over the course of several game sessions, there is, how you you kind of go, you fight in this dungeon, and then you come back out, you talk to the people. So you talk to the people beforehand, you go find the dungeon, you come back out, you talk to the people, and then you see this organic flow of what's going on in the game. Well, in my game, that that process takes like 2-3 sessions. The in out in type of thing. So you're constantly moving from one place to the other, and talking to people, and the plot's like flowing and everything. And even then, and a lot of the times the players will forget a lot of the details. So even though I keep it moving really quickly, players forget the details, of this or that, or why are we doing this or that. But for the most part, they're pretty good about it. But the key to that really is that A, player involvement, and B, um, the speed of the game. Now, when I was playing in his game, what would end up happening is that we would go out on this mission, never quite really know why we're going out on this mission, and then we would spend several game sessions killing monsters. And the reason why we would spend several game sessions killing monsters is because even though he would start his game at like 6 and ended at 12 p.m., so we're talking about 6-hour game sessions. I only run 2 to 3 hour game sessions, usually 3. But is he would the combats would take so long. Now, I have literally taken a timer, click, and on several occasions, I stopped doing it after several occasions because this was kind of the mead, know what I mean? And so like this was what normally happened. It would take 1 hour to cycle through all the players, and we're talking about 6 players. And a lot of this had to do with, now granted, the players their characters were higher levels than normal, but this rules, I mean, absolutely having to look up every rule that ever came up and then argue about it. And then on top of that, he would let players bring in the feat loyalty. If you guys are not familiar with that, the feat loyalty allows you to have an NPC. And so he would let them use the loyalty feat. And with the loyalty feat, then he would have a battle buddy in there that was their friend to their character, that was a couple levels lower than them, that had followers of their own. And what I mean by followers of their own, like there was an instance where the guy had a druid, and the druid had a pet, and the druid could summon creatures. And the guy that was playing the druid, he was more of a new player. I want to say this is the only game he had ever played in, and so the GM was letting him play several characters at once, and this was definitely adding to the bogging down of the game. Now, despite the fact that several players approached him about this and said, "Hey, look, this shit's taking forever," he kept saying he would do something about it, but absolutely refused to do it. And I'm not saying like this was something that came up and over the course of like a month he refused to do, he wasn't going to do anything about it or whatever. I'm talking about this shit lasted for like a year, if not longer. And the problem always existed, and he kept saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to start running the character and all this other shit and everything," but he never ended up doing it. He just kept saying he was going to do it. He did little things, to try and help things, but it didn't really do shit. But one of the things I had suggested was, stacking initiatives. And if this doesn't give you what type of mentality this guy had, I don't know what does. But I said, look, I was like, have you ever considered like stacking the initiative of this player? I was like, have them put everything on the one initiative so they do all the shit that they're going to do at once. And he said, oh, I think that would make it worse. I was like, are you fucking shitting me? You got a player who barely fucking pays attention to the game, and you want him to operate with several monsters, NPCs, and a character at different initiatives. I meant that means you have once it finally hits his turn again, you have to wait for him to collect himself, then do his thing, and then goes to the next player's turn. So he bogs down that time. Next player takes his turn. Next player takes his turn. Another NPC comes up. He collects himself, gets back onto the game, moves that thing, and I'm like, this is completely slowing the fucking game down. But one of the things that really was the kicker for me was I'm not a big math guy. I'm not a big numbers guy. I'm kind of a theater of the mind guy. But these guys were all rules Nazis. And so when they said something, I trusted it. And the GM constantly would give himself this proverbial blowjob about how he knew the rules and all this other shit and everything. I'm like, okay. So when I told him that I would do something and he said that I couldn't do it, I just accepted it, and I didn't think too much about it. Well, my character was playing a bard, and this bard had the diplomacy skill, and didn't think too much about it. Just figured, pump enough points into it, eventually it'll work. So here I am, constantly using diplomacy here, diplomacy there, diplomacy here, and my character up to 9th level pretty much never accomplished anything with his diplomacy skill. Now, granted, there wasn't a lot of role-playing opportunities in the game sessions I missed. Apparently, that's when the magical role-playing opportunities were there. But I would go into it and try and use diplomacy, and it would falter. And I wouldn't think that much about it. And then eventually, I'm at level 9, and I'm thinking, fuck my life, man. Fucking diplomacy is never fucking working. And then I was like, what the fuck do I need to do? And so I look up the skill, and I start looking up what exactly diplomacy does. And no, right before that, I hit my 10th rank with my 10th level. And I also dropped something else in there. And I'm subbing oratory for diplomacy. And so at this point, I'm like at a plus 24. So I add 24 to whatever I roll on the d20 for my diplomacy skill. And I realize, it dawns on me, that pretty much any fucking thing I try to do with diplomacy according to the rules as written, I damn near can do with very little effort. So I informed the GM of this because I don't think he quite understands what the diplomacy skill can and can't do. And, and then it finally dawns on him, and a couple things take place. And so, this is the thing that kind of pisses, really fucking pissed me off, was, he's telling me that the skill doesn't work for this and doesn't work for that. And like, we had this encounter, and the encounter is that the guy wanted this to get that. And my character uses his diplomacy, rolls stupid high to befriend this guy, and then, try and be diplomatic. And the GM says, no. And so I'm like, I wait until after the game session, because I am not a person that confronts a GM in the game, really. I try never to do that during the game. I always go afterwards and sit there and say, hey, what the fuck? And that is a lesson that I think all players should learn. You kind of throw it out there, hey, I disagree, and I think the rules state this, and definitely give it to him and everything, because he may not realize it, she may not realize it, and because I would love when I'm running my game, that if I'm using a rule incorrectly, at the very least throw it out there and everything, so I can listen to you and everything and recognize whether you're right or wrong, or something like that, and how we're going to do it, how we're going to go from there and everything. But to get down and to disagree with the GM, that would and have that type of conversation, that needs to exist outside of the scope of the game. So here I am, and he tells me this, and I rolled something ridiculously fucking high, and he tells me it doesn't work. I end up using this bardic ability that ends up fucking him, and he ends up having to give it to me because it's a suggestion type ability, and he ends up having to give it to me. But I confront him afterwards, and I said, hey, that was fucked up. I shouldn't have had to use my bardic ability. Now, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of this bardic ability to go around. But I should not have had to use that ability to accomplish that task. I should have been able to do it with my diplomacy. And he said, well, the guy was not going to budge and all this other shit. And I said, so you're telling me that the NPCs in your game are incapable of being manipulated? And he's like, well, this guy, I already wrote it in here. I was like, it doesn't matter whether you wrote it in there or not. I was like, you need to use common sense. If you're making a realistic world, and the NPCs are supposed to react to the world realistically, and you want us to take the game realistically, and you want us to play our characters realistically, when I roll a fucking 37 on my diplomacy check to try and manipulate this guy into letting us through the door, you need to sit there and say, hey, the rules, as written, state this. And now this is one of the things that really was the kicker for me, is not every GM is all that big on the rules. They're more big on the flair of the game. And but this guy, non-stop, you could not play a fucking game without hearing the word raw. You could not hear it. I mean, this guy literally bogged down his game because he had to go back into the book and he had to look up the ruling to make sure the ruling was correct, because that's the type of game he played. And he did this for a year, and I always thought that this was so fucking over the top, because he would just basically diminish the quality of his game, because he would emphasize the rules to the detriment. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the rules of Pathfinder. The rules with Pathfinder are great. However, if you have 6 players, 3 of them have the loyalty feat, and there's like 50,000 goddamn NPCs, and you're taking your sweet ass time, and all your mobs are operating on different fucking initiatives, and everything is operating on different initiatives, and people are playing fucking video games, watching anime, and everything else during the fucking game, and it's literally taking over 1 hour every single fucking round of combat. So you do your turn, and I timed my turns. My turns were taking like 20 seconds. And you do your turn, and then you can guarantee you could leave and come back an hour later, and it's not your fucking turn again, because it had not rotated through all the fucking players to get back to your turn. And this motherfucker is emphasizing, this is my game, and we have to look up the rules. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking killing me. So when the ruling fucking actually helped me, and all the times he bent me over the goddamn barrel and fucked me in the ass because of a goddamn ruling, I was fucking pissed that he was ignoring the basic rules of fucking Pathfinder in regards to my character's greatest fucking ability. You're gonna tell me, anybody here watching this knows that the thing that stands out about a bard is their ability to manipulate other people. It's their ability to make them fucking fight better, to make them sad, to make them do this, to make them do that, to make them do this, and everything. Bards influence people. That's their strong suit. And you're going to tell me that my base influencing ability is arbitrary and doesn't work. And the rules as written say otherwise. The rules as written say it's a plus 15 to whatever they say. So, hypothetically speaking, at this point, level 10, my character has a 24 on his diplomacy skill. Well, oratory, diplomacy, same difference. And I roll to influence the person, to take them from this feeling this way about me to feeling this way about me. And like, we're going to say worst case scenario, this NPC is hostile towards me. That is going to be, I want to say it's like a 25. It's like a 25 plus charisma modifier. So let's say this is one charismatic motherfucker. That's a 29. That means I got to roll a 5 or higher to influence this guy. Now, if I roll it by 10, if I beat the score by 10, that's going to take him from hostile to down to indifferent to like friendly. You know what? I'm going to get this out just so we can be exact. Okay, so if they're hostile, it's 25 plus charisma modifier. Now, for every 5 that I defeat this, we'll bring it down one category. So I'm trying to influence their attitude. So if I roll, if I have a score of, in this case, for an average Joe, a score of 35, which is a 9 plus on my roll from a hostile creature. This is a guy that wants to fucking kill me. I bring it down to indifferent. That's 15 plus charisma modifier. Okay, so 15 plus charisma modifier. Now, I think I'm going to get a little ballsy. I want him to do something that's going to help me that could result in him getting punished. Now, this is the biggest, big all fucking, hey, I need you to put your dick and balls on the block for me. That's a plus 15 modifier. So, at this point, I have him indifferent. Plus 15 modifier. That puts him at 30. I have a fucking 24 on my skill. That means I have to roll a 6 or more to convince this asshole to do something that's in my best interest. Now, so I want to convince this motherfucker to let us through the door. In this case, no, because I have written in there. Now, this is a guy that banks on the rules as written. So, but that's not what happened. Let me rewind. This guy was indifferent, which means he had a plus 15 score. Me, I rolled to change his attitude, which is indifferent 15 plus charisma modifier. which at the most could possibly be like a fucking 18, because you're going to tell me that you have a guard that's fucking got a 16 charisma protecting your fucking palace and not fucking handling your diplomatic abilities? I think not. And I rolled way over a 20. Now, I want to say it was like 30 something. So I got this motherfucker down to helpful. So 0 plus charisma modifier. Okay, basically, he ain't doing shit. He likes me. He's my friend. He's my buddy, and he wants to help me. Okay, so now give aid that could result in punishment. Now this is the worst modifier you can add to the fucking roll. So 0 plus 15. I rolled, I want to say it was like a 39. And so he's like, well, you know, that wasn't high enough to manipulate this guy. I said, that's literally double the fucking modifier that Paizo put in the goddamn book. You said, they're like, the highest modifier is plus 15. You know what I mean? I'm going to double that. I still make it. Would you do triple it? So I got to a point in this game where I said, it is fucking irrelevant what I want to do diplomatically. Now, he absolutely loved diplomatic characters. Absolutely fucking loved them. But he loved them to one end only, furthering his plot. Now, if you did anything that was absolutely along the lines of what he had contrived in his very fucking linear plot, he was there for you. I got your back, Jack. I got your back. You know, you could pretty much walk up there and fucking take shit from your fucking hands, smear it on your face and everything, be like, do you like my new makeup? Oh, yeah, I like your makeup. You know, you seem like a nice guy. Let me help you with this advice. This is the type of motherfucker he was. Made my character utterly irrelevant. Now, I was a big role player. A handful of the other players in the game were big role players. However, because of his hack and slash murder hobo fucking breeding fucking game, every role player in the game left the game. It was just, it's what ended up happening. You're wasting your goddamn time. You know, you try and do something in the game, unless it's literally what he wanted you to do, you're fucked. So you're fucked. And I tried talking to him about this, because when you're dealing with someone whose basis is this, and what you're trying to get them to do is to stick to this that they say is their basis, then, you know, you want to interject. Now, everything I took to him outside the game. I talked to him about it. He's like, yeah, I got it. No problem. You know, and then when I called him out on his shit, though, he never wanted to admit it. So I get him to say, hey, man, I need you to fucking take the diplomatic abilities seriously. So I talked to another player who happens to tell me that this motherfucker here sits there and tells him that he is going to throw in every negative that he possibly can. And my friend says, he's like, doesn't that make you excited? You know that you can still fail with your role? And I said, no. I was like, that fucking pisses me off. I was like, do you want to know why it pisses me off? And he's like, yeah. I was like, because I have never fucking succeeded with a roll. I have a level 10 fucking bard that can't talk a goddamn fucking vendor and is fucking giving him fucking something 1 copper off the goddamn price. Oh, which is fucking great, because, you know, Paizo came out with this ruling for how to be able to talk cheaper deals out of vendors. And so I'm like, man, you know, I got this in the bag. And coming right out the gate, and this is the thing about him, and this is the thing about all GMs, And GMs will Freudian slip all day long. And some GMs, you can talk them into doing something, and you kind of know them right off the gap, right off the thing. They're the type of people that you can convince them to change their position. This guy was not that type of GM. So here we are, 7 players thick, and he says the system that we have in place for you to be able to talk them into being able to lower the prices of raise the prices of the stuff and everything, so you can get money back and get a little bit more money back, more bang for your buck, and be able to manipulate them, into selling a little bit more expensive, so you can make some more money back. Is totally not worth your time, and you're only going to make a couple coins. And he said, then he went into detail talking about how the system that Paizo made was so ridiculously over the top that he would not be able to go, that he couldn't go with it. Well, I looked at the system that Paizo made it, and the system that Paizo made would influence the percentage based off of 2 points that you exceeded the DC by 1%. So, like, say, I want to say the DC was like 15, something like that. And if you beat the score by, say 10 points, what would end up happening is you would get 5% more loot off of what you sold. So instead of getting 50, you would get 55. So that system there was fucking ridiculous. But he didn't know I actually ended up looking that up, right after that. But, because I was just trying to get a little bit more back and everything. But he told me, he said, the only thing you'll get is a couple coins back in return. And now we were selling 30,000 gold worth of shit. Now you're telling me that based off getting percentages back and being able to manipulate the system to work out, we're only going to get a couple coins back. So, you're going to get that 50%, but it's going to be 50.00000000001%, that type of shit. So, I told the players there in front of them, I said, this is a fucking waste of our time. Just sell it. And he said, no, you can go ahead and try. You can try to do this and everything, because he could sense that I was irritated. And I said, look, you straight out the gate said that we're only going to get a couple coins out of it, and that it was a waste of our time. So you are the world as we know it. You represent the world in every aspect as we know it. And you are telling us that it's a waste of time. So GM, secret knowledge, waste of our fucking time. Okay. Then you capitulated that the system that Paizo created for us to use was ridiculously through the fucking roof, which is actually a pretty fair system. Now you want me to go with it and barter down and fight with you over numbers. I was like, that is a waste of my fucking time. I'm not about to fucking argue with you over a couple coins, because that's how you feel about it. I was like, which is a greater example of how you feel about people in the world, which is, if you ever notice that a GM, you could tell a way a writer or a GM thinks the world exists based off of how they run their games. Because you can tell how the player, the NPCs interact. So in this case, he does not believe that people can be influenced by other people. People cannot be manipulated. People cannot be coerced. People do exactly what they're going to do. And that's a crock of shit right there. Because people can't be coerced all day long, or else we wouldn't have billboards selling shit every fucking where you go. Commercials taking up fucking 1/6 of your fucking programming, and telemarketers calling your fucking phone endlessly, or they wouldn't have all this shit if it was a waste of their goddamn time. You know, but I'm not going to argue with the fucking GM about this. Just merely going to state the fact that I know, based off of his reaction, that this is a waste of time. I always try to tell people, read your fucking GM. If your GM rolls their fucking eyes, because I was playing in this one game, it was a great fucking game. I mean, I love this goddamn GM. And he was taking us in. We were playing D&D, not Pathfinder. But he was taking us through this shit and everything. And the cool thing about him was he was so fucking easy to read. Anytime someone did something stupid, you read it all over his face. Like, he had this look of like, you're a fucking idiot. And he was such an easy to read GM after playing 3 games in this game session, I came into this game session from, I was the new guy, and there's 8 players on the table and everything, and like these people get all confused and everything, and I finally come out and I say, guys, read the GM. I'm like, this guy is so fucking easy to read, it's ridiculous. When I sit there and say something, I say, yeah, I want to do this, and he's like, oh, okay, you want to do this? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Because I'm not fucking stupid. I can sit there and read it off his face, and after playing a handful of game sessions with him, I fucking know that motherfucker enough that he gives a look, he has a tell, when he knows that it's a waste of his fucking time, and he likes to keep the game moving fast. He's a fast guy. He's kind of like me. He likes to keep the game moving fast. Great GM though, fucking love him. But now I'm gonna skip into another game that I played in, because I think I ragged on this guy enough. But I'm not gonna tell you who that person was, but I will say this much. I'm sorry if you ever landed this game. One last thing on it is I was talking to somebody else about it, because on his site for his game, he has like 75 fucking players and only like 5 of them that play. Because he literally got people to jump into his game and they all get disenchanted and leave. Now granted, everyone's going to lose players. I lost players. I mean, shit. Everybody's going to lose players. You're going to lose players because disagreements. You're going to lose players because different play styles. You're going to lose players because real life situations and everything. But are you going to not be able to keep players in your fucking game? You know what I mean? Like, he constantly has to go fishing for more players, because every time he gets players into his game, they play a handful of sessions and like, this shit sucks, and then they stop playing. I tried telling him this shit. I tried being cordial, but impossible to fucking talk to this guy. But anyways, on to this other guy. So I have been watching one of the major YouTube guys, Dawnforge Cast. Andrew was talking about pay-for-play games. And so I was like, you know what, fuck it. I make good money. This is my fucking man cave. You know what I mean? I make good money. I work real hard. I mean, what the fuck does it matter? Spending a little bit of money on playing a game, that's fucking high quality. So I was like, you know what? Doesn't bother me. So I decided that I'm going to go ahead and, check out a few games. If I see a pay-for-play game, I might fucking try it out. So I find this game. And I am going to tell you this game. And the reason why I'm going to tell you this game is because this guy charges money. And more pointedly, he lies. He lies about what his game is. And I think it would be a dick move I never try and put anybody's name out there, but I think it would be a dick move of me to let you jump in a game that costs money without having the full knowledge of what the fuck's going on. But his I'm trying to see what he goes by here. The guy goes by Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show. He a bit of a cinephile, and like I said, the reason why I'm putting his name out there is because he charges money, and he lies about his game, on what his game actually is. And I felt that you guys should actually know who this person is and know what their game is like before actually playing it. I mean, if you go with this knowledge and then you decide to play in the game and everything, that's kind of on you. But so I got on here and talked to this guy, and this guy's like, man, I run games every week, and I run them all day long and all this other shit and everything. And I'm like, man, this is fucking cool. I like this, and he's like, emphasis on role playing, emphasis on rules as written, and just, real big. And now this is 5e, D&D 5e. So if any of you guys are interested in possibly trying this game out, because it's not horrible. I think it's horrible, but you may not think it's horrible. Some of the players really loved it. But it's like, he was, I told him, I said, I really want, I want the rules, I want role playing, I don't want to play in a murder hobo game, stuff like that. And so he's like, oh man, this is the perfect game for you and all this other stuff. And he started going into detail and everything about how seriously we take our characters and look at all the backgrounds for all the NPCs and all this other shit and everything. I'm like, all right, I'm buying onto this and everything. And I went ahead and paid for 2 weeks of the game. I was like, all right, I'm down. So I jump in the game, and first off and everything, the maps and shit were kind of shitty, but not enough to, I think, dissuade a player from playing. But one of the things that that kind of stood out for me was, like, I was, this new player, and I'm trying to do these things inside the game, and in this huge city of like 10,000, 100,000 people and everything, and every fucking person I tried to, because I was trying to play this con artist thief, I'd run into, I suspect, was like a 10th level fucking NPC that he wrote up, and, he thought it was funny, but I didn't think it was funny when I was a level 1 character trying to manipulate that character, and the character was then rolling a disbelief of like plus 17. So I'm like, okay, well, great. I'm meant to get fucking caught. So I was pretty pissed off about that. And I had really good ideas. I planned this all fucking out. It was, really fucking good. But, so we do all this shit and everything, and kind of getting the the feel for my character and everything, because I wanted them to get a feel for my character. And then he decides to go through this thing called that he does for all the new players, and where he runs them through, which is called the Goblin Hole. Now I'm fucking excited about this because he runs all of his players through. He's got 3 sessions that he runs all his players through. So that means to me that he's got this shit down packed. First thing we do is we get to this bar. And this is after I do the whole series of stuff, which is not bad and everything, but we get to this bar. And in the bar is like an NPC bar. And all is NPCs and PCs. So there's a bunch of fucking PCs in the game. And the PCs pretty much don't have to make realistic looking characters. Like, one guy has a fucking Woody doll. When I asked him, what does your guy look like in the game? He started giving me this weird fucking backstory and everything. And I'm like, okay. Because I have no fucking idea what I'm looking at other than a Woody doll. And they had all these weird things. And the biggest problem that I found with this game, one of the biggest problems I found with this game, was that the out of game references. The out of game references were so fucking over the top that one fucking moment after another, they were at all fucking times, the players of the game were referencing movies, music, cult classic shit and everything, nerdy jokes and everything else. You know, like the rules and everything. You know, don't bring your fucking cell phone to the table. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that and everything. But there was this thing about the group where all they did was make these fucking references outside the game. You know, and granted, they would intermittently get into character and everything, but 90% of the time, they were talking about these other references. So it's like, I'm paying to play this D&D game, but all we're doing is talking with your friends about this other shit, you know. And so that was one of the things that started irritating me, and it was non fucking stop. Second thing is that they had one of these players there, and the player was from another country, and she nonstop made sexual references. And now, don't get me wrong, we all make jokes, we all make references and all kinds of stuff like this. But I want to say I played like 4 or 5 hours. She came in there about 20 minutes later, and everything that could be turned into a sexual reference, she did that in the background. And all the guys were giggling and everything, and because these guys had like a nerd crush or something like that or whatever, and non fucking stop sexual fucking references throughout the game, you know. And I'm like, you know, not in the game, out of the game, you know. Um, and the GM just didn't do anything about this, so there was all these fucking chatter outside of the game during the game while you're trying to fucking play the goddamn game. And there are a lot of things that just irritate me. But if I'm paying for a game, you know, not running the fucking game is definitely going to, you know, on the fucking top. And having all this shit and everything where nobody fucking wants to play the game, instead they want to just talk sex with the fucking female of the fucking group. You know, I'm sure some of you are like, I don't see what the problem is with that. I'm like, think I give a fuck about talking sex with some goddamn fucking person in another fucking country? I got a wife. I got better things to do with my life than fucking talk sex with another fucking female. You know, you know, I got my woman, and she's a good fucking woman. So that wasn't the thing that even pissed me off the most. So I go through, I make this fucking PC, and I edge this guy out perfectly to be able to do the things that he's supposed to do. The GM, every fucking time I have a decent chance at successfully doing something with my skill rolls. Now, don't get me wrong, role playing this character out the entire fucking time. Every chance I have to have a decent chance to actually do something in this game, no, just role play it. Don't roll it out. How about we roll it out and role play it? You know, what happened to this rules as written shit that you were telling me beforehand that you're all about the rules? Because now you just throw the shit fucking out. But that wasn't the thing that pissed me off the most. The thing that pissed me off the most was, now, I am not that fluent with 5e. Especially since I don't play it that fucking often. You know, but I am fluent enough. You know what I mean? I'm fluent enough to run games that don't cost money. You know, I can run a game and, you know, it's not that bad, you know. But this motherfucker had no fucking idea what the rules were. You know, whenever you would counter a skill with something else, he didn't fucking know. He knew no fucking rules. He didn't use initiative. He didn't use anything. I mean, it was like, dude, why are we even fucking making characters? I mean, the character's skill set or whatever, the skills were only there for when you want to showcase your fucking NPCs that you made that maybe were PCs at one time or whatever, and then you want to make us look like we're fucking inferior. Um, why? Why am I fucking here? You know, and that's really kind of what I got to the point of. And then the out of game fucking references. And I'm sitting the whole fucking time these guys are talking about movies, music, fucking Star Wars, fucking Lord of the Rings, fucking any fucking nerdy thing you could think of. These guys were talking about it and in depth. And so apparently the guy that was running it, Dr. Frankenfurter, who is a cinephile, and that's what the other players called him, and it became very obvious that he was in fact a cinephile. He had one movie reference after another inside of his game, where he would have these black and white pictures of like Chucky's face, or these black and white pictures of like the thing from Pan's Labyrinth, and all this other shit and everything. And he used Phantasmal Force, and he used Silent Image inside the game, and throughout the entire dungeon that we went through, that it took forever to get hold, this goblin hole that the chick that kept calling the G hole, and then you had to hit the G hole just right, and you had to pound it and make sure you don't use any sharp, and constantly making sexual references over the fucking shit while you're trying to go through this shit that was never given really any real fucking description and everything. So he had these fucking silent images or whatever, and he had the fucking Phantasmal Force, and he was using these spells in the game, and he had no fucking idea how these spells worked. None whatsoever fucking ever. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? And he utilized the spells incorrectly. It's like, how the fuck are you going to run this and run every fucking player through this that you have? Utilize this shit and have no fucking clue what these spells do. You couldn't take 5 seconds to read the fucking spell? You're charging people to play in your fucking game, and you couldn't take 5 seconds to read the fucking spell to see what it does? I mean, you were talking about like, oh, you take an action to disbelieve this. Well, I mean, I'm telling them like, yeah, you're supposed to take an action to disbelieve it, or you shoot through it and it goes through it. You get a chance to disbelieve it or whatever. Well, you see that it went through it and everything, but you can't see past it. Okay, well, and I'm thinking to myself, well, the rules state that once you disbelieve it, you can see through it. Nope. Phantasmal Force and everything. Apparently, the Phantasmal Force affects every fucking buddy at once. Not a target spell. Not targeting an individual. It affects everyone. Oh, that's great. Apparently, you didn't read that fucking spell. I mean, I want to say it's 3 sentences into it that tells you what it does. The good part is he never got to the part where it does damage. Then you would have been really fucked, But, so, the kicker is that I'm very cordial. And I'm playing this and everything. By the end of this, let me go through this one. Every fucking time my character tried to do something, he would save my character and have one of the PCs hold my characters back and keep me from doing something. And I'm like, great. 3 rounds in a row, I couldn't do what I wanted to do with my character. And you can't use stealth because there's nothing for you to hide behind. You have to be able to have something to hide behind. I was like, well, thinking to myself, they physically can't see me, because if they can physically fucking see me, then I can physically fucking see them. And furthermore, since their dark vision doesn't even extend to where I'm fucking standing, so I have I'm outside their line of fucking sight because they're hitting behind a fucking wall. B, they can't fucking see me because I'm not even close enough for their fucking dark vision to kick in. You know. C, yeah, that fucking skill works just fine. And stealth is more than not being seen. It's also not fucking stepping on fucking rocks and shit to give the sound of where the fuck you are. Because I'm trying to sneak up here and get behind this. You know, oh, can't do that and everything because they may fucking magically know where you are. Couldn't put fucking visual representations on the fucking character of what they can fucking see. And one of the things that just fucking floored me is the nemesis in the game would have like an 18, 19 fucking AC or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't hit that. I can't. I mean, I can at a, 1/3 of the time. And so he pretty much, suggested I use dodge. And I literally went from one end of that dungeon to the other end of that dungeon using dodge. Then he told me that I needed to control the other players. Okay, well, this isn't Warhammer 40k. This isn't Warmahorde. This is Dungeons and Dragons. And my character is playing a fucking rogue. I don't want to fucking give away my position by telling other people what to fucking do. So, I was not happy with this game at all. I was respectful, though. I sent him a very cordial message saying, I don't think that this game is right for me. I'm going to seek games elsewhere. Never responded. Never offered me my money back. And never offered to pay me the money that I paid for the following week of playing in the game. Just pretended that he didn't fucking hear or see anything. I'm like, thanks, buddy. Now, as I said, his game is Os Rules, and it is Dr. Frankenfurter. You'll find him on Roll20. I would highly suggest, if you are okay with what I said, then by all means, please. Anyways, that was him just messaging me back, justifying why he should not pay me any of that money back, and that it was all my fault. Which, of course, obviously he can't see it. But, I was very cordial when I told him that, his playstyle wasn't my playstyle. He obviously responded with something along the lines of, you were a horror, you weren't a good player, and I was trying to help you be a good player, and all this other shit and everything. And so I told him, I said, well, I was like, I was actually very professional and cordial with you about this. I never once pointed the finger at you. I never blamed you for anything. I merely stated that your game wasn't my style. But you wanted to take the gloves off and throw them on the floor. So now I will speak my mind. And I said, your players talk the entire time about out-of-game shit. Your female spent the whole time talking about fucking sex. You couldn't even use dynamic lighting on a fucking board that you use every single fucking game where a new player comes in. Couldn't use line of sight. You had no idea how to utilize the spells that you use every fucking game for that board when you have a new player. So you have a level 1 player come in, you use these 2 spells, and you don't know how either one of them operate. I was like, and then furthermore, I was like, having a player be able to hit the mob 1/3 of the time, which means you swing your shit 3 times, and statistically speaking, you hit once. What does that mean the other 2 rounds consisted of? You standing there missing, looking stupid. I said, which means that the game was not geared towards my character. It was geared towards your players that are already 3rd and 5th level that are in the game. I was like, that's fine, but that's not going to be enjoyable for me. Kind of an asshole. But that's to be expected. I told him, I said, you're arrogant. I was like, pretty sure you're not going to be able to see any fault of your own in this. I was like, and telling me that I quoted 3.5 rules in 5th edition. Well, I mean, you might want to call it Pathfinder, because I haven't played 3.5 in like 15 years. I was like, and don't remember all the rules from 3.5, but just being an asshole. But note to self, Frankenfurter, I mean, unless you like games and everything that involve 50% playing the game, the other 50% joking around, making out-of-game references, and not doing anything but just bullshitting, making sexual comments and all that other shit and everything. I mean, when I go play D&D, here's my thing: is I go to work, I raise my kids, I set aside to spend time with my wife, and I shoot the shit with the guys I work with and everything. So when I come to play D&D, or I come to play Pathfinder, I have a set amount of time to utilize that time to specifically play, the game. At that point and everything, you might have a little bullshit beforehand, a little bullshit afterhand, but the whole point is to actually play the game. And he's charging people to come in there and group chat and just sit there and shoot the shit with a little bit of gaming on the side. To me, I felt that wasn't what I was looking for in a game. I meant quite a few of the players, they were having a blast doing it. I don't know if they were more motivated by the fact that the session was a session that was supposed to be dedicated to my player, my character, or whether it was like, this is what they do all the time. And I mean, it could have just been, hey, this isn't about us, so fuck it, let's just sit here and talk in the background the whole time, because this is boring for us, and I don't want to be a part of whatever is going on here. Or it could have been, hey, this is the type of game where we run, where all we do is we make these fucking out-of-game references and shit. So, I don't know. Could have been either way. So, I mean, you got me. But anyways, yeah. Kind of an arrogant prick, to be expected. Obviously he didn't want to give the money back or anything like that. And it was, I mean, that's to be expected. You jump in a game and you pay for play, and you're gonna get that. I mean, that's just gonna happen. All right, guys. Nice talking to y'all, man, and y'all take care. I'm probably gonna be doing a dumbed down version of these videos instead of doing the whole intro and shit like that and everything, just to put the information out there. All right, guys. Peace.